Hello everyone and welcome to Countermeasures. Here's what's coming up. The Ruga initiative has been one of the most difficult conundrums for the Buhari-led government in recent times. It is worrisome to see the policy misdirection that characterized the now suspended Ruga initiative of the federal government. It is not addressing the anxieties of the states that a subtle form of internal colonialism is in the making through Ruga. Is the Buhari-led government about to open a deadlier era of conflict if it attempts to foist the cattle colony solution? Pro-democracy activist and National Publicity Secretary of Yoruba Social Political Organization Afenifere, Comrade Yinka Odumaki, in an exclusive interview with SaharaTV's Countermeasures, insists the federal government initiative should be cancelled. Hundreds of Shi'ites have continued their demonstrations in the nation's capital, Abuja, to demand the release of their jailed leader, Sheikh Ibrahim El Zakzaky, days after their clashes with security forces left some protesters dead. His detention has led to repeated protests in Abuja and several cities in the country. In a phone interview with Comrade Deji Adeyanju, a rights activist, SaharaTV explores the sheer size and commitment of the Shiites protesters in their demand for the federal government to free their leader, Sheikh El Zakzaky, which has triggered violent and bloody crackdown on the Islamic group. These stories and more as Countermeasures starts right now. The sheer wanton loss of lives and massive destruction of property caused by open grazing of cattle is said to be one of the effects of poor leadership and policy misdirection, which is seen as a major conundrum in the country. The public outcry against the atrocities of armed herdsmen across the states of the Federation has been unabated, compelling Nigerians to call on the President Muhammadu Buhari-led government to proffer a permanent solution to the crisis. The Ruga settlement solution proposed by the federal government to the herdsmen menace has been greeted with a deluge of criticism. Consequent upon the pressure mounted on the presidency, which was championing the cause, described as illogical and one-sided by political commentators, Buhari announced the suspension of the project in which contracts had already been awarded. Some analysts said that Ruga was a decoy by Buhari, who had been severely accused of placing the Fulani, the ethnic group to which he belongs, above others. They said Ruga was a plan to grab the land of the various states and hand same over to the Fulani herders so that they could dominate them in the future. The coalition of northern groups gave the federal government a 30-day ultimatum to implement the Ruga project in the interest of peace and unity in the country. Spokesperson for the CNG, Abdulaziz Suleiman, urged the federal government to ignore what it called the noise of the southern leaders against Ruga and go ahead to implement it, saying it will solve the persistent herder-farmer clashes.
We place President Buhari and the federal government on notice that they must act to halt and completely stop this raging madness within 30 days, beginning from today, Wednesday, July 3, 2019. For the avoidance of doubt, we advise the federal authorities and the southern leaders to heed the 30-day notice, failing which we would most definitely be left with no option than to consider resorting to our decisive line of action.
The development elicited response from Ohaneze Ndibo, which insisted on no land for Ruga in the southeast. Afenifere, which described the ultimatum as insulting. We're still looking at the issue about the ultimatum given by the coalition of northern groups, asking the federal government to resign its decision to suspend the Ruga settlement initiative as king. Your organization, Afenifere, has come out to describe that ultimatum as not only insulting, but a calling to war. Why would you say that at this time?
Well, clearly, first thing is that there's some so-called fellow Nigerians who equate cows with human beings is very offensive. To say, oh, if you not allow our cows to move freely in your area, your human beings will not be able to move freely in the north. It's repugnant. And it flows from the assaults that are visited on the rest of the country by a group in this country. Even when you look at the whole idea of Ruga flows from that kind of impunity. Because Ruga is another word for cow settlement. How you will take in a multi-ethnic nation like Nigeria, take a concept in language of one of the section and impose it on the rest of the country. Could Obasanjo have brought a concept in Yoruba into the agriculture ministry and implemented over Nigeria? Will our friends not accept? Would Jonathan have brought a concept in the Ijaw language and imposed it on Nigeria? Would they accept? I didn't start today. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture had the program they call Fadama today. Fadama means irrigation in Hausa language. People kept quiet. But now it's becoming too much. And when you look at this, take the list of agriculture ministers in this country over the years and look at who have come from each section. Minus additional and possibly I would say Second Republic. From one section, we cannot run a country like that. And I think is that habitual impunity that is giving some thugs the leeway to tell us that in 30 days, so you accept that cows move freely in your area, your human beings stop moving everywhere. And it has come to a point in this country where we need to agree. If we want to live together, it should be on the basis of mutual respect, on the basis of federalism, for every section to live their cultural norms. If you don't want to live together, let us have a referendum, have our Brexit in peace, and then we can still live it after. We can have consulate offices across, exchange programs, be friendly. Let it not be on the basis of war that these elements are calling for.
Shouldn't have the president or the presidency done more in terms of ensuring that those who are behind those ultimatums should have been arrested? I mean, what's your take on that?
They are working together. Is it an accident that was very day the federal government announced so-called suspension that they issued their ultimatum? They are working together. Look, when Obasanjo talk about Fulanization and Islamization agenda and accused Boko Haram and Miyetti Allah, who responded to them? To date, Miyetti Allah did not respond. Boko Haram did not respond. It was Lai Mohammed and Garba Shehu who were responding to Obasanjo on behalf of Miyetti Allah and Boko Haram. We had a situation where Garba Shehu was telling us that Miyetti Allah, that in 2015, that the global terror index described as the fourth deadliest terror group in the world, Garba Shehu was equating that with Afenifere or Hanese. So the agenda is clear. It's those who are living denial that will not agree with General Tiwa at this stage that there is complicity in what is going on. And that's why Afenifere has, last year, we called on Mr. President that you cannot be president of Nigeria and be grand patron of Miyetti Allah. There's conflict of interest. And that's what we are seeing. That today, you do not know the difference between the Nigerian presidency and the presidency of Miyetti Allah or coalition of northern groups.
You raised an alarm about the fact that the federal government was plotting to repeal the Land Use Act, which conferred the power to control lands in the states and the government. Should Nigerians be concerned? Yeah,
clearly we have to be concerned, because when you look at it, when you look at the memo from the Chief of Staff to the Ministry of Agric, they never talk about suspending Ruga. Or they said that they are suspending the unilateral implementation by the Agric Ministry, which is not in conformity with National Livestock Program. Now, we are aware that Niger State alone has 70,000 square kilometers land. Big Netherlands is the fourth largest exporter of agric in the whole world. The entire Netherlands is not of the Niger State. Niger State said they want to do Ruga. So other states in the United States they want to do Ruga. But Trump went said they're suspending it because Southern states, mostly Southern states and Midwest are saying no. It shows clearly that the whole agenda is not about cattle, it's about taking land from other people. And the land used today remains a brick wall in that agenda. This Ruga project is to take away lands from people in the south, in the middle belt, and turn Nigeria virtually to a Fulani country. Don't forget that the president has been talking about local government autonomy. It's not about this agenda. So that by the time they have those local governments, they have autonomy, they will try to control. And more importantly, what that would mean is that when you have elections in this country, the constitution says that, oh, you need to spread across the country. Once we have Rugas across the south, I'm not understanding. If you have a Fulani candidate or 2/3 is not a problem. Because they will register thousands, millions of Fulanis. Bring them around the world. Put them all the Rugas. But you see that if you have Ruga in those states, those who will vote in Rugas will be more than DJ in those states when you have elections. So that is why this Ruga project is about internal colonialism. And that's why we are resisting it. For us in Yoruba land, we have said it loud and clear that no governor in Yoruba land should give an inch of our land for any Ruga settlements.
Now, beyond your call for Yorubas or the Southerners to defend their ancestral lands, yes, one of the major concerns is that there seems to be small proliferation of arms in the north. How will the Yorubas defend their ancestral lands with this kind of threat?
Well, they can, yes, there are so many weapons in the hands of the north today. Even their highest men, they go about with AK-47. Exactly. If you are spoken with someone who they are kidnapping, they will tell you that they open brand new AK-47 from packs easily, unlicensed. Yet, the fact is not disarming them. They wanted to disarm those who legally registered arms. So, but like I said, when they are bringing their jihad, we told their weapons and our warriors made them in Shogo, and they pushed them back. They will never overrun Yoruba. It's not possible. We may not have, the government may not allow us to carry arms, but we have all our traditional technology for the protection of our people, which we have all done over the years and which we continue to do. And that's what I call people to do. And which was why we are also very happy that the Nobel laureates, Professor Olusoyinka and Afenifere, met on July 4 and they issued a statement which can only come from men of courage. Men who understand that man dies in him who keeps silent in the face of oppression and tyranny. So, when you heard the Oni and the Shi'ites speaking, you should know that the Yoruba spirit is alive. And anybody who thinks they can run over us, conquer us, or subdue us is joking.
Many of the so-called Fulani headsmen are not even Nigerians, according to some of the reports and research that we heard. And one begins to wonder why there has been an institutional failure in this regard, as regards mechanism to prevent and stop illegal immigrants in the country. I mean, have you given that a thought?
No, they cannot stop. They can't stop. The government we have in Nigeria today cannot stop them. It's an agenda. It is the suzerainty of Fulani that we are witnessing in Nigeria today. Don't forget, for Olusegun Obasanjo to come to the conclusion that there's a Fulani agenda. Don't forget that part of the hatred Obasanjo had in Yoruba land before was it's pro-North, he's their boy. But for him to come to that conclusion that this agenda is going on. So, I mean, what's going on is very clear. When El Rufai came out to say that he paid money to foreign Fulani to stop killing in Kaduna. You know what was going on? When you were having APC or having campaign in Kano and governors came from Niger Republic to attend the rally, what do you think you are doing? So, for the Fulanis, a Fulani in Nigeria has a stronger sense of belonging with a Fulani in Niger Republic than an Edo man, or a Yoruba man, or a Ijo man. Their kinship is stronger than that. Fulanis, they have no borders. For the Fulanis, Southern Nigeria is just, for them, Nigeria is just their northern soil and southern votes. And like this coalition that you two are saying, they believe that they value their cows more than us. Don't forget that there was this lady, a rep, who said on the floor of the rep that Fulani value their cows more than themselves. So who are we? So that is what's going on. The Fulani agenda against Nigeria is strong, and if that's not so, and Obasanjo will not come to that conclusion and say it openly.
You made a statement recently that government must begin to enforce law and order and make sure that no group of people act with impunity against the other.
Yes.
Why will you assert this fact at this point in time? Does it mean that the government's security architecture has totally failed in this regard?
I go back to Chiwadajuma again. When a former chief of defense staff of this country, former defense minister, comes out to tell you that, look, if you depend on the current security architecture of Nigeria to protect you, you will die one by one. That's a very strong statement coming from him. The security forces, they are hamstrung. You cannot begin to say that you are acting against terror activities of a group who has the president as their commander-in-chief. It's not possible. And that's why we're saying that except the Nigerian government realizes that enforcement of law and order across board is the first duty of any government, we are taking this country to Kigali very fast.
That is ominous. Beyond just the suspension, the federal government
they did suspend. They did suspend Ruga. Ruga is alive. They suspended unilateral implementation by the Ministry of Agric. Go and read Abakari's memo to the Ministry of Agric. They didn't say we suspended Ruga. They said the president has suspended the unilateral implementation of Ruga by the Agric Ministry. That's what is suspended. No, Ruga syntax.
So we should be looking at the cancellation of the policy in its entirety.
Of course, that's the thing that can please us, because suspension is what we call takia, deception, and many people are falling. I was doing that in my column yesterday, talking about people are falling, great men who are falling for deception in Nigeria. In 1962, the Federal House was sitting, discussing with tradition, when I always scribbled a note to Balewa. This was a story about Bacholo himself to Inako. Prime Minister, when can we see? The Prime Minister responded, why not now? So I will head to Balewa's chambers. Mr. Prime Minister, what is this thing I'm hearing? That emergency will be declared in Western Nigeria. You're a lawyer. Everybody knows the process of declaring emergency rule. Why would that be contemplated? It's not possible. If ordinary people how can you believe that? Anything was discussed? I will say nothing. They parted, they shook hands, they left. That night, emergency rule was declared in Western Nigeria. So let nobody fall for the suspension. Nothing was suspended. It's only that Agric Ministry jumped the gun. They didn't allow them to cross all their teeth and dot their eyes, and that's what they're doing now.
Comrade Yinka Ademokin, thank you very much for your insightful analysis.
My pleasure.
Hundreds of Shiites have continued their demonstrations in the nation's capital, Abuja, to demand the release of their jailed leader, Sheikh Ibrahim El Zakzaky, days after their clashes with security forces left some protesters dead. Again on Thursday, members of the Islamic movement in Nigeria clashed with the police at the Federal Secretariat. The police fired gunshots and tear gas canisters to disperse the protesters, while some Shiite members were apprehended by the security operatives. IMN leader Ibrahim Zakzaky has been in custody since December 2015, when hundreds of his supporters, including women and children, were killed by the security forces, according to a toll established by rights watchdog. His detention has led to repeated protests in Abuja and several northern cities. In a phone interview with Comrade Deji Adeyoju, a rights activist, SaharaTV explores the sheer size and commitment of the Shiite protesters in their demand for the federal government to free their leader, Sheikh El Zakzaky, which has triggered violent and bloody crackdown on the Islamic group.
What's really at stake, and if there are reputational consequences for the federal government as far as this issue is concerned?
Basically, when people talk about that there's a clash between the Shiites and security forces, and many of us tend to wonder and laugh, because a clash is where two people, who are in a combat, who are holding arms, who are at each other's throat. But you can't say that when security forces take up, arms and shoot on armed defenseless citizens, you can't call that a clash. And this has been what has been a recurring decimal since 2015. The current APC-led government, the government of President Buhari, has been consistent in killing members of the Islamic movement of Nigeria. And many people are also worried and begin to ask, when will this government get tired of killing these people? You understand? Because it seems as if we have not learned any lessons from the past. Because this was the same way where Muhammad Yusuf was arrested, and was arrested by the military. And unlike the military, the military handed him, in one piece to the Nigerian police. And the Nigerian police killed this guy extrajudicially. Judicially. They killed him extrajudicially, and this now culminated into the belief of radicalization of Boko Haram, where people now saw that they were going to avenge the death of Muhammad Yusuf. So the situation we saw yesterday at the National Assembly is a situation of retaliation, which is similar to that of the Muhammad Yusuf experience. A situation where members of that group have been retaliating, and you now find radicalized elements among them who will now change the ideology and the orientation of the people. So many of us are worried, especially key stakeholders in the country are worried that we do not want to have a repeat of the Muhammad Yusuf experience. Because the Muhammad Yusuf experience has led to the destruction of this country beyond what you can imagine. The entire Northeast has been devastated just by that singular error.
Now, let me ask you this, Mr. Oju. Many observers have actually been surprised at the sheer size and the commitment of the Shiite protesters themselves, especially as it relates to their demand for the federal government to free their leader, Sheikh El Zakzaky. What are the concerns on what lies ahead if the federal government does not accede to their demands?
Yes, very simple. You see, the people in their conduct, they have not. One thing that we must give to the Shiites is that in all their conduct, they have not been that much of being extremely aggressive. You understand? They are always peaceful, because many of us have witnessed their activities, their protests, their rallies and everything, and we have always advised them that they should maintain peace, that no matter the level of provocation, that they should not do what many people who are instigating these attacks against them want, which is a situation where they will retaliate and there will now be another consequence, because it will affect and consume everybody. The Boko Haram issue, whether anybody likes it or not, is affecting and consuming almost everybody. Because the people that used to claim that it doesn't really affect me because I'm not from the Northeast, but today the Boko Haram thing affects everybody. And that's why, because when some of us speak up, they will say, what is your business there? Are you a member of, are you a Shiite? Are you a B? But whether we like it or not, if we don't speak up, these issues that are affecting the Shiites today, a situation where we have a situation in the country where the Shiites have become a endangered species, that anyone can just kill them at will, just because some people believe that that they are not Nigerian enough. So we don't want a situation where people will be endangered just because of their belief, their religious belief, or any other belief. So we want a situation where every Nigerian will enjoy the same treatment, whether you are a Catholic, whether you are a Protestant, whether you are a cherubim and seraphim, whether you are a Sunni, whether you are a Shia, you have the right to practice the religion of your choosing. Now, Section 10 of the 1999 Constitution has said that Nigeria is a secular state. You understand? And for the fact that Nigeria is a secular state, whether anybody likes it or not, you cannot therefore force your religious belief on me. Another can you start a religious war in the country just because you perceive that someone is not either Muslim or Christian enough.
Now, let me also ask, members of the House of Representatives today actually called on the Nigerian government to release Ibrahim El Zakzaky in accordance with the several court rulings that they have, that the federal government had received. What's your insight on this, please?
That's a fantastic take, because I personally, I do not see this National Assembly being of any, that this National Assembly has the scruples to even challenge the federal government. But for them to have taken this great step, I must say that I'm extremely impressed. I'm extremely impressed that the National Assembly today was courageous and brave enough. But another thing is that a government that continuously disobey and disrespect court orders, will that government now obey the National Assembly?
Hello.
Court orders, we obey a resolution of the National Assembly.
All right. One other question. Will there be any reputational consequences if the federal government release the detained leader, Sheikh El Zakzaky, at this time?
There will be no consequence, because the man is old, he's sick, he's very sick, he has lost one eye, he has lost 6 children. The damage that has been inflicted on him, I don't think anyone can recover from that in his lifetime. So I do not see any potential danger that Zakzaky poses to either national security or even the well-being of anyone. I do not even think that Zakzaky poses any security risk to the President Muhammadu Buhari presidency. Let's even assume that President Buhari has a personal beef with the Islamic leader. I do not see that the Islamic leader can, cause any harm again to President Buhari, even if that was the case. You understand? So a situation where people pursue personal vendetta and they use government institutions. Also, it is in this tragedy. And this again brings me to the next fact, that it is possible to have a democracy, but the democracy is more worthless than a totalitarian regime. Because a situation where the principles, the doctrine of separation of powers in our constitution is very clear. And Section 14 of the 1999 Constitution talks about why Nigeria is a democratic nation. Section 14 is clear. You understand? So when the tenets of separation of powers are missing, where the executive arm of government takes over the duties or functions of the judiciary by disobeying court orders, you understand? And also the oversight that the National Assembly has exercised today. Because constitutionally the National Assembly has the function of oversight, which is what I believe that the resolution is meant to achieve. So a situation where the executive now becomes the accuser, the trial court, and the jury, the judge, in their own matter, it cannot augur well for a democracy and a nation.
Finally, what meaningful action should they be asking for from the global community at this time?
Yes, the global community, severally international organizations, the US has spoken that if care is not taken, that the Shiite issue will degenerate into something far worse than the issue of the Boko Haram. The government has the report, security agencies have the report. So why then will any country, serious country, apparently be playing with fire? Why will any country want that? Why will security agents just sporadically open fire on armed citizens whose only offense is protesting and demanding for justice? In an unjust society, if the rule of law, just like as proponent by Professor Evidency, that when the rule of law is missing in the society, anarchy reigns. So, except the government want to intentionally create anarchy in the country, I do not see any reason why they will not accede to the demands of the members of the Islamic movement and let peace reign for once and for all. And I use this opportunity to make a passionate appeal to President Muhammadu Buhari. I'm not appealing to him now as a president, I'm appealing to him as a father. That he has the capacity to end this, and that the time to end this is now. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very, very much, Comrade Adeoju. We really appreciate your insightful analysis.
Thank you, my brother.